All right, what's going on, guys? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan here, and congratulations on grabbing this KPI scorecard. Uh, Obviously, you have come to understand the importance of knowing your metrics and knowing your numbers. So, I absolutely applaud you for this, and this is going to be an absolute game changer in your business. Now, before you dive into it, I just want to give you a quick tutorial of how this works. So, please watch this video because it's very, very important. Despite being a relatively simplistic tool, I'm going to show you how this works and how you should use it, what to do, and also a couple things not to do. So first off, there's going to be a link, I guess, below this video. So click that link. That'll take you to the screen that you're seeing here, and you won't be able to edit that version. So you're going to come up here to File, make a copy to your own Google Drive, and then you will be able to use it. The way that I've built this tool is to work for an entire whole year, right? So similar tools I've used in the past, they may just be a week's worth of data for you to collect, and then you would have to copy it. And I found students that I work with are not great with necessary Excel. So this is good for an entire year. So a couple of things I want to point out just to show you how this works. Now, the first benefit and really great thing about this tool is it allows you to plan, all right? There's two main benefits to this tool. The first one is allowing you to plan, to give you clarity on what it takes to actually do a deal. Now, the example that I like to use is direct mail, for example. Now, a lot of people that come to me, they tend to watch a lot of YouTube, right? See a lot of different strategies and say, okay, I'll try a little bit of everything, throw everything to the wall, and eventually something will stick. And it's very rare that that ever happens. Usually, what happens is you are just spreading yourself too thin to the point where you never hit that threshold for what it takes to do a deal because you kind of don't know. And so, going back to that direct mail example, when I first started in the business, I'd say it's about every maybe $500 I would get a deal. So it was absolutely worth doing that. But that cost has gone up. So nowadays it's probably closer to about, if you're using direct mail, about $2,000 for a deal. So if you have 2 grand, absolutely spend it because it'll turn into 10, 20K. So it's a machine you put $2 in and 10 come out. It's great. But a lot of people don't know that. And so I'll have students who maybe have a budget of $1,000 and they'll say, I want to do direct mail. They'll spend the thousand. It's the last thousand they have. But because they don't know what it actually takes, then they don't get a deal. Now they're starting again from zero. Or you could have someone who maybe paid $1,800 and they're like, this is not working. I'm cutting everything off. But not understanding that you're 3 feet from gold, in that if you had just paid 200 more dollars, you'd have a deal. So that's the first thing this tool does. And so we're going to go here. We can look at either the weekly KPIs or your monthly KPIs. So we'll jump here, and these targets here, that's what's going to let you know what it takes on average to do a deal. So these numbers come directly from my data from over 13 plus years in the industry. I've also aggregated some student data to kind of round some of these numbers off for you, and also just industry standards. So this is telling you what it takes to do a deal. Now, very, very important. As is highlighted here in yellow, all of these columns here from F as far as it goes, and the same thing on your weekly KPIs, do not touch those. Those are automatically created. I've got some dummy data in here, but if we look here, for example, if I click on a file, you'll see that they're semi-complex formulas here. And so if you accidentally type something in there, it's going to throw off all of your data. So do not change any of these, actually from E over. Um, just don't touch them, okay? Those are going to tell you where you're at. Now, the target, this is what I want to talk about. This is something you actually can change. These are, again, my data, and also kind of industry standards to know. And this will also tell you not only where to start, but once you start diving into this, it's going to tell you, am I on track, right? Am I spending too much? And that kind of allows you to understand if something's broken. If you spend a certain amount of money and you don't see a return, something in your process is broken. And then we can deep dive into what that is and how to identify it. But even as I coach my students, I'm able to look at their data and I can tell them, usually with beginners, it's usually a volume problem. They're just not doing enough activity. right? But it could be a problem with their data. It could be a problem with their follow up system. It could be a problem with an employee. It could be a problem with comping properties. Are they offering too high? For example, if you offer, if you make a lot of offers and they don't get accepted, your analysis might be off. But if they do get accepted, but then they don't sell, well, now you're offering too high. Those types of things. So we can talk about that in a bit. But this lets you know kind of how to plan. And I always recommend getting very much laser focused, especially if you're a beginner, on one marketing strategy, at least to get started. The analogy I often use, you may have heard this before, but worth repeating, is if you were opening a restaurant, right? And let's say you had a finite budget, 100,000. It would be the way that I would recommend. It's in your best interest to focus all your efforts on one restaurant. Make it the best. Bring in the best management. Bring in the best chef. Spend all your money on ads and social media and getting the word out there and getting word of mouth going to get a line around the block and get featured and get, I don't know, influencers and stuff like that to come to your restaurant. And then once you turn a profit, you can open up your secondary location. The equivalent of what a lot of wholesalers are doing now, new wholesalers primarily, is they're saying, well, if I open 5 restaurants at the same time, I'd make 5 times as much profit. But now you're spreading yourself too thin. Now you have additional costs. Now you pay a lease for 5 different spots. Now you have to split up your advertising budget. The quality of food might go down because you're not there to have that oversight. Now the other 3 or 4 before you're profitable will ultimately just tank everything, right? So you do want to expand, but not too fast. Okay, anyway, let's get back into some of the things we're looking at here, and I want to give, I guess, a little bit of a word of caution. So the targets, these are where you need to understand your budget and where you're working from to determine what's going to be best for you. A little bit of a caveat here is that, again, these are some standards that will give you an idea of what it actually takes to do a deal for the sake of planning. But I just want to point out a couple of things. You'll notice, for example, cold calling. I have this cost per qualified lead relatively low. If you look at other I guess KPI scorecards or planners, that number is probably going to be a little bit higher. The reason that that number is where it is because I'm starting kind of from the very bottom, and this was also created for students of mine. So, for example, within my group coaching or even my one-on-one coaching, it comes with my REI Titan software. So, the dialer is something that's included for students. So, I have not put that into the cost or budget. If you are using a dialer, that is going to, well, obviously increase what you would be spending every month in terms of the marketing costs. So, just kind of keep that in mind. Also, if you were using, let's say, not just a dialer, but maybe a cold caller, a VA, right? A VA costs you $6, $7 an hour, maybe about $1,200 ish per month. And so that would increase your cost per lead. So things like that you can keep in mind, and you might need to adjust some of the targets if you are doing those things. So that was the first thing I wanted to point out. And then same thing, on market, I have it as 0 because literally you could go onto Zillow right now and find a deal. Most of those deals, you're probably going to want to put down an earnest money deposit. I recommend at least $1,000, but I don't consider that a marketing cost, so that's not in here. If you are using a program or a software like Privy, that would increase your cost there. So keep that in mind. Like this column D here, the target, you could change some of these things. Primarily, these are the first 2 I want to talk about. Direct mail, the numbers I have in here, these also may skew a little bit higher because as this is made for students in my program, all of their direct mail is done for them, right? So it's a done for you kind of system that it literally take you 30 seconds. If you wanted to send direct mail to 10,000 people for a year, it takes about 30 seconds because it's all done for you. It's created for you. We work with a partner that has a print house, and that includes the printing and the postage and all that stuff. So that's why it skews maybe a little bit higher. When I first started, I would go to Walmart and I would get paper and envelopes and stuff and stamp. My daughter would be there putting the stamps on. So it can that in that sense it can be cheaper if you do it yourself. So that's also just to give you an idea of where some of these numbers are coming from. So now, once you use this kind of column here to pick your strategy, all you have to do every day is just input basically what you did. So walking you through the tool and how it works, we start with daily KPIs. This first tab is the only tab that you need to input data into, that you should be playing with. Okay, and you'll see if we scroll over to the right, at the top here is going to be the different strategy that you're using. So maybe it's cold calling, maybe it's on market, direct mail, Facebook ads, PPC, PPL, all of these things work. And so all you have to do is you have to make this a habit. What I recommend for my students is to set an alarm on their phone for maybe, let's call it 9 p.m. every day. You can do it as you go through your day, but at a minimum, I have them set an alarm. And then at that time, they come in, let's say it's, I don't know, January 1st, and you just fill this out. And sometimes that habit feels hard to get people to do, but literally it takes you about 30 seconds, and you don't quite see the benefits when you first start doing this, but over time you build up a data set. And also, just to let you know, this year to date column um, combines all of the data you're putting in and shows you, it's color coded. That way, if you are above, if you're doing better than the target, it'll highlight green. If you're in about the range of what's acceptable, it'll be yellow. And then again, if you're something's off, it's going to be red. And so that's going to also show you, um, if there's something broken in your program, in your systems, in your processes, etc. So all you need to do is just come into this page and put in what you did every day, right? And that's it. The rest of the tool works for you. You guys will see I have a tab here called the monthly aggregate. When you open this sheet up on your own, this will be hidden. I recommend you keep it hidden because there's nothing you need to touch on that page or you're going to mess up your data. The reason it's that way is because as we look at this tool, it's broken up by week 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 52. And if you get to the next year, just make another copy and start over, right? But it's built by week. So when you look at your KPIs, you can see what you did week by week. The other visibility that I wanted to give you guys is by month, but I didn't want it to be, say, month one, and then you have this, I don't know, between, January and February, this crossover. So that's what the monthly aggregate tab is for, just kind of an FYI. So it basically takes all your information from the daily KPIs and it breaks them down into, the total by month. And so now, instead of saying month one, month two, this tab will show you your monthly KPIs by the actual month. So I hope you guys realize that this is just such an incredibly powerful tool. There is no successful wholesaler who is not tracking this. It will tell you, one, how to plan and what you should be using and what the targets are that you need to be hitting. It'll show you too what is broken in your business and what you need to stop doing immediately. And then number three, it will show you what's actually working very well and what you need to double down on. So for some people, that means if something's working really well, that they need to just keep doing more of it. For some people, it means that you can start expanding into different spaces. So if you're just doing cold calling, maybe now it's time to start incorporating some Facebook ads. If you're just doing cold calling, it's working, and your budget's maybe you don't want to spend so much on a different strategy, you can expand that same methodology where it means now maybe you get a cold caller. Okay, maybe you get a VA, maybe you get a couple of VAs, and then that's where you can play with the target. So I hope I wanted to keep this brief, but if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me. You can email me, mike@wholesalingwithmike.com. Any social media stuff, so my YouTube channel, Instagram is a good one, at Mike Hill TWT. I want to wish you guys the best of luck. And then also below, well, I guess this video, in addition to the link to this tool, you'll find a link if you want to download. You can get my entire wholesaling university. That's my updated course. So this is not a course from 2010. These are things that are all working today, step by step. If you see my YouTube videos, a lot of those are just people ask me questions and I answer stuff more or less randomly. This is going to be A to Z, how to chronologically wholesale, right? Step A through Z, an action plan that kind of shows you it expands on some of the stuff I talked about here. So it's like, what should you do in your specific situation? What works for one wholesaler won't necessarily work for you. And then it's very action oriented. So this is what you do on a daily basis, step by step. That is completely 100% free. There's a lot of other stuff in there. I have contracts, forms, marketing materials, calculators, rehab estimator, costs calculator, ebooks, all kinds of good stuff. Everything you need to do your deals, right? In addition, when you get the free university, free course, which I do keep evergreen, I keep up to date, you'll also get a free trial to my group coaching program and my wholesaling software, REI Titan. So basically, this is exactly what I use to wholesale. It's what my students are using. It's basically an exact copy and paste of my business, right? Really cool stuff in there, very heavy on automations and AI. You can check it out and do the trial completely for free. Um, and I think once you use it, you'll want to stay. It also comes with group coaching. So we have Zoom calls and there's a mastermind group that I would love for you to be a part of. And listen, if it's not for you, totally cool, man. You don't have to call or anything. It's a button, you just turn off the trial. But regardless, the Wholesaling with Mike University is yours to keep for free forever. So, on that note, I want to wish you the best of luck. Clearly, you're in the right headspace, the right mindset. You understand the importance of these KPIs. So, enjoy the tool. Again, if you have questions, reach out to me. Get the free program. Check out the trial period. Come hang out with us in the group coaching program, as well as check out my REI Titan tools. A lot of really good stuff in there. And best of luck. And I will talk to you I guess in the next video. All right. Enjoy. Thanks again. And talk soon. All right. Peace.